Good morning and welcome to the digital marketing news, the digital coffee, all the social media news you need to know this week. And if you're joining us and you know somebody else that may like to see the show, please do click that share button and share it to your timeline, to a group, to a Facebook page. If you know people that would be interested to know what's happening with Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram this week, please let them know. And as you can see, I have quite a busy board this week. We have the week started with Messenger news and finished with Messenger news. Some interesting stuff going on there. We have a couple of bits of Facebook news that are kind of interesting. Instagram has done something that is going to be kind of exciting when it's rolled out everywhere. Pinterest, actually, I never get over Pinterest genius. It's fantastic. They do amazing things. They keep being very, very creative. I think they're going to own the web one day. We have something from Twitter. Again, it's another Twitter anti-abuse tool that they've introduced that people aren't so happy with. And we've got something about instant articles, which is that little black spot there. It is traditional to talk about what we're drinking. I'm drinking coffee from my very little cup again. I tell you what, I could really get used to drinking these espressos. So when you join, do let me know what you're drinking too. Do you see the picture of my very little coffee cup there? Okay, so let's get started with this week's news. I'll just grab my notes. Are you ready? Okay, the first bit of news is, and this is going to start making noise at me, so let's just switch that off. First bit of news here is Messenger. On Facebook Messenger, they have just introduced emojis. So you can now reply to Messenger posts with emojis, a bit like the reactions that you get on regular Facebook, but this all happens within Messenger. It's kind of cool, but what got everyone talking, what's got everyone really excited is that in fact you can now in Messenger use a dislike button. I've got a nice photo here of showing you how it works. Just bear with me 1 second while I grab it. Here it is. So this is a Messenger conversation that people are having, and you can see next to one of the comments people can click the little messenger symbol or the little emoji symbol, reaction symbol, that's the word I'm getting for, and you can choose. And you see that one right at the end, the thumbs down? Yeah, do you see that thumbs down? Now that's a first for Facebook. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear on this. It makes total sense. Why would you have a dislike button on Facebook? But it works within, of course, Messenger, because somebody may say something that we might want to put a thumbs down. I can see a few people have joined us there, so do let me know what you're drinking. I'm having a little coffee, a little fancy coffee. Do let me know if it's tea, coffee or hot chocolate. And this is kind of exciting, people, because people have wanted a dislike button for ages. I do think reactions kind of addresses that issue, but with the thumbs down now, that is a dislike, a very heavy dislike. Of course, we don't want a dislike on our business pages, because what if somebody dislikes what we're doing? We won't like that at all, and it would serve as a negative signal. And plus there's too much negativity in the world. We've already got the angry button if that's how we feel about something. Okay, on to news topic number 2. One day I will get used to this not mirror imaged. So more Facebook news. I had a feeling at the beginning of the week that the only news I was going to share with you this week was going to be Facebook news, but it's not. I have other stuff going on. Pinterest, for example. But 2 really interesting bits of Facebook news this week. The first one is that Facebook City Guys. Hi Naomi, thanks for joining. Facebook city guides, and this is kind of exciting because one of my predictions for 2016 that didn't really happen was that Facebook was going to like really push itself out on kind of the reviews app and the tourism app side. I even thought they might have an individual site for kind of like locations, like to try and compete with Yelp. We're yet to see if that's actually going to happen or not, but it'll be exciting to see if it does happen. But they have rolled out something they're calling city guides, and you should have this on your mobile app. If you don't know if you have, you can go, wait until I finish, but you can go and you can check it out. And what it does is, I'll just show you again, I've got a nice image to show you of what happens. Here we go. Too many images this morning. So this is it. This is, you know, if you click the 3 lines at the bottom of your app on, oh, can you see that? There you go. You get like a list of all the different areas you can go into, and that one is city guides. And when you go into city guides, it'll show you, hi Una Ming, thanks for joining. It will show us the stuff that's happening in cities that our friends have visited, places that they've been, places that they've reviewed. It's kind of exciting. I liked it. Obviously the big cities that were coming up for me were Dublin, but there were also, because I have a lot of American friends, there was some information on San Francisco and places along those lines. And basically it's just a friend recommendation engine. And this kind of ties in, so you'll be able to see local businesses to where you are or the city that you're going to. You'll be able to see which friends have checked in, which have reviewed. And it does kind of tie into that recommendations engine thing they have going now. So you might say, I'm going to, hi Eleanor, thanks for joining. You might say, I'm going to New York, can anyone recommend somewhere to eat? And a little thing comes up asking for recommendations from people now on Facebook. So this is going to be a big new thing, I think. And I do, you know, just so that I can look clever. I would really like it if they introduced a separate app for kind of like these friend connections and Yelps and reviews, and yes, like a competitor to Yelp or Foursquare or TripAdvisor or something along those lines. I do think this is interesting. So do tell me what you are drinking, because there's a reason I'm drinking out of this mug this morning, actually. One, because the coffee tastes very good, but I forget about that because I still do like the idea of sipping at something for a long time. Do you want to know a secret? Well, you tell me what you're drinking. The real reason I'm drinking out of this cup, I ran out of milk. Shh, don't tell him, he's going to be really annoyed when he wakes up. Okay, so that's the city guides, and I do think this is going to be a really interesting development and something. You've got water, Eleanor, how healthy, on a Friday and everything. How can you manage that? I do think this is going to be an exciting new thing that happens. We've got a story next, and this story is not going away, the fake news story. As we know, as if I need to repeat it again, the ideas that the American election was won due to fake news stories that were being circulated about Hillary Clinton. Really weird stuff. I don't know how anyone believed it in the first place, but there you go. And of course, the current president of the United States is now very hot on this fake news thing, using it as a way to say, look, you're all fake news. So Facebook is really trying, they've reacted pretty fast. And there's people in other countries now, you know, with elections coming up, kind of getting worried about this whole fake news thing, because how's that going to affect them in the elections? Hi Kate, thanks for joining. How's that going to affect them in the elections? You know, it's not just elections, it's beyond that. You know, fake news could make or break your business. What if somebody started, you know, publishing fake stories about you? What can you do about it? Now, fake news, I remember when it first came out and I thought, I'm not going to talk about this because it's not really a new thing. You know, there's certain publications out there on the internet that are legitimate newspapers that don't always publish 100% of the truth. You know, they exaggerate for, you know, so that people come and visit their sites. One of them has recently been taken away by Wikipedia. You can no longer use it as a source on Wikipedia because it's known. So it's not just in the digital age we have this problem with fake news. Now, that was my rant. What are Facebook doing about it now? I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but they are now flagging stuff as fake news. Users are able to report posts, although I couldn't see how to do it on my app just yet, so I'm not sure if it's rolled out to Ireland, but users are able to find a story, say, think this is fake news, it gets fact checked, and then it will get flagged, and this is what it's going to look like. Or does look like, because people have this already. Yeah, there you go. You can see underneath that story about the American president, you can see there is like a little red flag, and that red flag says disputed by Snopes and Politic Fact. So they're actually gone and fact checked it against fact checking websites to see, is this true? And the story was Trump's unsecured Android device source of recent White House links. And I think this is important because a lot of people, they don't click the story. Maybe if you click the story, maybe it would be ridiculous. But that, if I just read the headline, I'd kind of go, all right, yeah. I believe it, because I'm human, you're human, we're suckers sometimes. So I think just having that underneath makes me question things a little bit more. And that's really important. Now, of course, there are the conspiracy theorists out there who think, oh, that's flagged as fake news, but it's not really. Okay, Unaming, if it's person fact checking, I feel sorry for them because I can't see people just flagging things because they don't like the story. As yes, absolutely. Now, when they originally announced this, they said it was going to be humans fact checking. So they're going to need a big team, and maybe that's why I didn't have the option to report yet. Maybe they're rolling it out slowly because obviously this is going to be a huge volume. It's an algorithm initially, but I do believe then it's a human being, and which is interesting because we know recently they ejected all the human beings from their trending stories because people were saying they were being a bit lefty when they shouldn't be. So that's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. And yes, nightmare. Think of all those hundreds of stories that are going to be reported. And I'm guessing as well there's certain publications that will get whitelisted, and certain publications, if it's a new publication, it's not going to be whitelisted. That sort of thing's going to go on, which means those newspapers that tell lies sometimes probably are going to get whitelisted because they're well-known publications. It is a can of worms. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. I haven't given anyone a thumbs up or a heart today. I don't think I want to yet. I do kind of like the city guides. This is for the city guides. Okay, moving on. Instagram stories are becoming more Snapchatty. Yep. Just when you thought they couldn't anymore, they're becoming more Snapchatty. There have been 2 geolocation filters added in. Now, I know that there is a way of adding your location, but these are kind of your customized stickers you see on Snapchat, you know. So in a thigh, I think the last time I looked on Snapchat, we just had one, and I was really annoyed because I was going to create one and then there was one there already, and then I wasn't motivated to do it anymore. But now you can get these on Instagram stories. So at the moment it's New York and Jakarta, interestingly, are the 2 places they've rolled these out for. And they're just, well, they're movable. They're stickers, so they're movable. The ones on Snapchat, when I last used it, although I believe you can have movable ones now, they were an overlay. They were like a lens. You couldn't move them around. Whereas these ones, as you can see, you go in, you can choose your sticker for New York, you can move it up, and that's what it's going to look like. Now, I have another Facebook stealing Snapchat's ideas story coming up. And I actually think Facebook had got really good at this, really fast. In fact, they found ways that they can improve on what Snapchat's doing, which I suppose was always the point. You're actually bored of stories now. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, just too much. And no, in fairness, I think me and you aren't the market for this. I think it's not us. It's not us. And yeah, I don't have time to watch them. I don't do many stories, so I did do an Instagram one the other day. I think the problem with me and stories is my phone keeps crashing. So I get like halfway through something and they go, and all intentions to create this wonderful story out the window. Okay, so that's the Instagram news. Now this one from Pinterest. I actually think whoever is running Pinterest and owns Pinterest, and I don't know their name like I know the names of the people who own other things, is an absolute genius. I do think we have underestimated Pinterest. Now, I don't get too excited about Pinterest as a social network. It's just not one that's ever really appealed to me, but they're doing such smart stuff. And if you were watching a couple of weeks ago, you'll remember that Pinterest introduced this thing. It's like a magnifying glass on images on Pinterest, and when you click that, so say you see a jacket you like, you can click that magnifying glass and it'll find other images including that jacket on Pinterest. So you've got like a style guide. I could wear this jacket with this nice hat and this dress, and it's really smart. Or you know, with recipes as well, you see an avocado, you can find recipes relating to an avocado. It's very, very smart. But what they've done now is even cleverer, because if you have the Pin It Save to Pinterest, I think it's called now, extension on Chrome, that magnifying glass appears on all your images, all the images that you see on the web. And it's handy. I have it because it makes it easy for me to pin to Pinterest from any site that I visit. So I use Pinterest very much, when I do use it, as a bookmarking site. So that's what I use it for. But now I can go onto an image, I can click this little magnifying glass in the corner, I can like select a little corner of the image if I want to, if there's a product within it that I want to see more of, and it'll go all over the web and find images that are similar to it from websites. So I did this. When I found out about it, I would just had somebody's blog open, nobody that I can see that's on this, so you're okay. And I went, okay, right, that's fine. And I did it on an image, and it's like the reverse image search in Google. So it brought me up all these blog posts that were using that image as well. They all had different text overlay on. So that was number one. It's really interesting because I do think it's going to help us, help Pinterest become the place we look for inspiration. So both on Pinterest itself and just when we happen to be browsing the net. It's so clever. Apparently it'll be rolling out to other browsers soon, but just the Pin It extension button, the Pin Save to Pinterest button extension for Chrome at the moment. And I'm sure I had another reason. Yeah, the downside, of course, let me give it a thumbs down. Yes, it could help bloggers see if their content was stolen. Very, very good, you know what I mean? The downside is if you're using stock images on your blog, very quickly it's going to become clear that it's a stock image. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with stock images. I use stock images. I tend to customize them into my blog images. But that means I'm just not going to look as unique as I did. I do think you're going to have to think more about customizing your images, particularly if people are going to be using this tool a lot. Particularly, actually not so much for us in the digital marketing space, but if you're a fashion blogger or a beauty blogger, you know, if you've got the same image of a coat as someone else has, then it's not going to stand out so much. However, if you've got that coat on and somebody's doing a search from an image of that coat to see style ideas, that could be a great driver of traffic to your site. So, you know, I think for people in the lifestyle businesses, that could be really valuable. Okay, I gave that a thumbs up already. I'm going to give it a heart. Okay, so the next piece of news that we're on to is another, just I think every week for the last few weeks we've been talking about Twitter abuse. Also, oh sorry, I read that comment already. And just one more thing they've done, which seems to infuriate, these things seem to infuriate Twitter users, but if you'd been nice to each other in the first place, it's like being naughty in school, isn't it? I've just seen the postman walk up the drive, fingers crossed. Just to make sure I'm not missing what I'm supposed to be talking about. So what they're doing is now, it used to be the case that if you had a lewd image or swearing within your account, particular tweets might be marked as saying this could contain sensitive images or content. I'd actually never seen that on Twitter, but apparently that was a thing. Now it's the entire account. When you go to visit somebody's account, it will say this image or this account may contain sensitive imagery and language. So it's kind of like, do you still want to continue? I don't think this is so much a bad thing. I think Twitter needs to be accessible to everyone. I think parents particularly will want to make sure that if their children are using Twitter, which, believe it or not, some people do, they'll want to make sure it's a safe space. I don't think it's bad. It works on Tumblr, it works on other blogging platforms. Why wouldn't it work on Twitter? But it does mean you could be censored for a bit of swearing. So be careful with your swearing. I know a few people that are very sweary on Twitter. They could come down with it. And from that point of view, you might say it's trying to censor your language. And maybe that's not a good thing, because is swearing always a bad thing? Which is a story for another day. Now, the very exciting news. You may be very aware of this already. Is that Messenger Day has been rolled out, apparently worldwide. Messenger Day. Does anyone know what Messenger Day is? Messenger Day is Facebook's other answer to Snapchat stories, and it happens within Messenger. So it's not like Facebook stories that are happening on Facebook. It actually happens within the Messenger app. So it's a lot more Snapchatty. Very clever again from Facebook. At this stage we know they're evilly clever at stealing people's ideas. This one is a big one. I think a big one for poor old Snapchat. Poor old. Their shares did quite well there. Good point, Ari. Pinterest traffic. I have a stock image of some spices on one of my blogs. When I pinned it to Pinterest, it showed other accounts with it. Yes, this photo has been, yes, very good. So Messenger Day is basically Snapchat on Messenger. So I don't have it yet. I should have it. It should have been rolled out. It's worth going into your Messenger, clicking the camera at the bottom. You'll be able to see that it's a day rather than just your regular camera on Messenger. What it looks like you can do, and this is why I'm kind of excited, is they've improved the product over Facebook stories, over what you can do on Snapchat, over what you can do on Instagram. It looks like you can add animations on top of your messages. So in their video that shows you how it works, they've got kind of text sweeping in and arrows sweeping in. And if that is actually a function and it's not just them showing off, that is a killer. That is brilliant. And I'm far more likely to use Messenger stories than I am Facebook stories, because it feels a bit weird having it sitting at the top of Facebook there. I don't watch them. I can only, you know, it's not my kind of thing. So I do like the idea of this. I think this one will be a hit. I don't think Facebook stories are there to last, really, but I do think Messenger stories, or Messenger Day as they happen to be calling it, will be. So I'm going to give that a thumbs up. I'm just fiddling around trying to find my thumbs up symbol. Well done, Facebook, on that one. Well, I always find a bit guilty about saying that, because we know it's an idea that's stolen. We know there's a horrible, like if one of my competitors did to me what Facebook's doing to Snapchat, I wouldn't be too happy. But still, I think it's brilliant. I think it's something I might actually use. Whereas Facebook stories, you know, I gave it a go and then I quit. Very, very interesting. And my final bit of Facebook news, you can see my Tweety bird is sitting on it. It was hard for me to squeeze in at the bottom of my screen there. Is that if anyone's using instant articles yet, I tried. It's not set up properly. It's just, it's very hard. It's not as easy to set up as I thought it would be. But instant articles are the ones that when you click a link on Facebook, instead of it going to your website, it goes to a version of your website sitting inside Facebook. So they load very, very quickly. And when Facebook launched this, you can actually monetize your articles. You have to sign up to do that, of course, but they will put ads there and you share the revenue that they make from the ads. So they've just made a few small changes to the ads. I don't know if anyone's doing that. Do give me a thumbs up or whatever if you are. But you can now put ads. It was a case of you could only have an ad every 350 words. and that it was completely automated. So they've recently just changed so that you can have an ad, and I'm not sure I like this, every 250 words if you want to, and you can actually insert them manually as well. They don't all have to be automated. The automated will just put an ad in every 250, 350 or 500 words, whichever one you choose. An update to that, I do like that they're sharing revenue with users there. I think that's smart. When I get my 300 consistent people watching my live streams, I've got 3 at the moment, I would definitely monetize this. Well, maybe actually I won't. So that's all for me for this week. Before I go though, just 2 things. Number 1, have you noticed that now when a page that hasn't posted for a while on Facebook posts, you get a notification about that? If you've noticed that, I think this is kind of tying into Facebook wants people to be sharing more content on Facebook, but it doesn't seem to want businesses to be sharing more content on Facebook. It thinks we're sharing too much. And if you've been watching this before, when they rolled out the page changes, so now when you go to a Facebook business page, there's all this stuff before the content. There's like your map, there's your reviews, whatever it happens to be, from the sort of page that you're at. And that says to me what you post or how regular you post is less important to them. That was the first thing. Now these notifications coming up saying so and so hasn't posted for a while, here's their latest post. As a marketer, what does that do to your head? Does that make you go, ooh, if I don't post for a while, all my fans are going to get a notification that I've just posted something. That's got to be good, right? More people are going to see what I do. I think there's a downside and an upside to that. I do think, though, that it is consistent with Facebook's move. They want us to have a more website-y thing going on Facebook than posting content. I'm not going to cut down on the content I post. I spend a lot of time making sure only the best stuff goes out there. And I don't think I'll be tapping into this because, of course, when people start getting notifications about your page because you haven't posted in a while, there's a good chance a lot of them are going to unlike your page. So there's a balance to be struck there. And that is thought of the day. Before you go, final thing of the day. If you haven't signed up for my Twitter webinar, you'll know from watching this show, I'm a big fan of Twitter, but a lot of people have a problem turning their Twitter presence, their Twitter followers, what they're doing on Twitter into sales. And that's what we're going to talk about in the webinar. We're going to talk about the mistakes businesses make. You can register for the webinar at spiderworking.com/Twitter webinar. spiderworking.com/Twitter webinar. I'd love to see some of you there. And don't forget to click that share button underneath if you found this news useful and you know somebody else who might too. It's St. Patrick's Day here next Friday, so there will be no Facebook Live. The next time I see you will be Friday the 24th, and I'll be in San Diego. See you then.